Imagine opening the door to an old wooden barn that hasn't been touched in 40 years. The hinges groan as the door slowly swings open. Sunlight cuts through the dust floating in the air, and sitting there in the shadows, under decades of dirt and cobwebs, is a car that time forgot. Not just any car, a classic American muscle car. Maybe a 1967 Ford Mustang. Maybe a Dodge Charger from the golden age of Detroit. Sometimes these forgotten machines turn out to be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes even millions. These discoveries are known as barn finds. And for car collectors across the United States, finding one is like uncovering buried treasure. But how do valuable classic cars end up forgotten in barns in the first place? To understand that, you have to go back to a time when these cars weren't rare collectibles at all. They were just cars. In the 1950s, 60s, and early 70s, the United States was producing some of the most iconic automobiles ever built. Detroit was booming. Car companies competed to build bigger engines, louder exhausts, and faster machines. Ford Mustangs, Chevrolet Camaros, Pontiac GTOs, Dodge Challengers, Plymouth Barracudas. These cars weren't museum pieces back then. They were everywhere. Young drivers bought them new. They raced them at local drag strips. They cruised small-town streets on Friday nights. The sound of a V8 engine roaring down Main Street became part of American culture. But as the decades passed, many of these cars slowly disappeared from the roads. Engines wore out. Parts became harder to find, and gas prices surged during the oil crisis of the 1970s. Insurance costs climbed for high-performance cars, and newer vehicles began replacing the old ones. Sometimes owners planned to repair them. Sometimes they dreamed of restoring them someday. But life has a way of getting busy. People moved, families grew, priorities changed, and those once powerful machines were quietly pushed into storage. In rural America, that often meant one thing. They ended up in barns. Across the Midwest and the South, thousands of old barns became accidental time capsules of American automotive history. Cars sat untouched for decades. Dust covered the paint. Tires slowly went flat. Rust crept across the metal. Birds nested in the rafters above them. But underneath all that dirt and neglect, many of these vehicles remained surprisingly intact. And every once in a while, someone opens a door and makes an incredible discovery. One famous barn find happened in Texas. A collector stumbled across a rare Shelby Mustang that had been sitting untouched for more than 30 years. The car was coated in dust. The tires were cracked, but the car was still there. Original paint, original engine, original interior. After restoration, the car was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Stories like this are what fueled the obsession with barn finds. Because the truth is, no one really knows how many classic cars are still hidden across the United States. Collectors believe thousands of rare vehicles are still sitting in barns, garages, and storage buildings waiting to be rediscovered. Some may have been parked there in the 1970s and never moved again. Others were simply forgotten when properties changed hands. That mystery is what drives many enthusiasts to search for them. Some collectors spend years traveling through rural towns looking for leads. They talk to farmers. They ask around at local auto shops. They knock on doors and ask homeowners about cars that haven't moved in decades. Sometimes the search leads nowhere, but sometimes it leads to something incredible. Opening an old barn and discovering a classic car frozen in time. Paint faded, chrome dull, but history still sitting exactly where someone left it years ago. For collectors, the real magic of a barn find isn't just the value of the car. It's the story. Every one of these vehicles carries a piece of American history. teenager's dream car from the 1960s, a weekend drag racer, a father's pride and joy, a car that once carried a family across the country on summer road trips. When collectors restore barn find cars, they're not just repairing engines and polishing chrome. They're bringing a moment in American life back to the road. Today, the fascination with barn finds has grown far beyond the traditional car collecting world. Entire YouTube channels are dedicated to discovering and restoring them. Car auctions often feature barn find vehicles as headline attractions. Collectors from around the world travel to the United States hoping to uncover one of these forgotten machines. And every discovery sparks the same question: how many more are still out there? Because somewhere across America, behind the doors of an old barn, a dusty garage, or a forgotten storage shed, there could be a rare classic car sitting quietly under decades of dust, waiting for someone to open the door and realize they've just discovered a piece of American automotive history. Barn finds are just one example of the many strange and fascinating subcultures that exist across the United States. From storm chasers racing across Tornado Alley to demolition derbies at small-town county fairs, America is full of traditions and communities most people never see. And here on Truly American, we explore those stories one video at a time.